Hi, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today for Leveraging CSM Case Lines Best Practices live on ServiceNow webinar. So before we get started, we would like to take a couple of moments to go over the safe harbor notice. So our presentation today may contain some forward-looking statements, and we would like to remind you to please not make any purchasing decision based off of what we present today. So before we jump in, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's event. So please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions you may have during today's event. We will try to answer them throughout the session or at the end. At the bottom of the screen, you will also find the reactions button. So give us a quick reaction to let us know how you found it. Great. Now feel free to use reactions and the Q&A throughout today's presentation. We will also be sharing today's presentation and the recording after the event. And after the webinar, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. Your feedback is super valuable to us. So if you have the time, we strongly encourage you to take the survey. Okay. So today we have with us me, Priya, and Madhuri. Madhuri is the Director of Product Management for all things CSM Case Management, and I am the Outbound Product Manager, and both of us will be presenting today on CSM Case Lines. For all of the future ServiceNow, live on ServiceNow events, you will be able to access those if you scan the QR code here. The link will also be shared in today's chat, but please do check out all of our upcoming events. All right. So with that, let's get started. So today on the agenda, we have a few brief items. I'm just going to go over it quickly. We will quickly go over the CSM case management overview and a little bit about why we built case lines. And then Madhuri will explain, the solution space, what the capabilities are, and we'll do also a demo for out-of-the-box case types. And then I'll walk you through how to extend case lines for custom case types. And then we'll close out with some best practices and Q&A. Awesome. So let's get started. So as I said, we'll get started with the overview. So I just wanted to quickly briefly touch upon this belief, that some may have, that a case is basically a ticket in the call center. So some may think that, when an issue comes in, it gets logged, it gets passed between agents or teams, it follows a few tasks. Let's say we slap on like a category or subcategory label, and ideally we close it on the first call. So in that world, a case might feel kind of similar to a ticket to some for simple one and done issues. But really, the larger question is that approach really working today? What happens when customer requests don't fit that simple pattern anymore? So that's when case as just a ticket kind of starts to hold us back. It doesn't really track fulfillment between front office, middle office, back office requests if it's just a ticket. And it leads to lots of swivel chairing because the entire fulfillment is not tracked. So these are exactly the kinds of complexities where an out-of-the-box framework like case management really shines. A case isn't just a record, right? It captures the entire end-to-end fulfillment. All the work happens in a single case so that you get one place for tasks and full visibility into what's going on, all in the context of related processes. Like, for example, let's say a store calls their HQ, they have some kind of a faulty point of sales machine. They log a case with the HQ, and maybe from that case, the HQ can create an incident for the POS machine with IT, track the investigation, and follow it through resolution. And all of this gets tied back to that original case. So every step of fulfillment is connected. No matter how many systems are running underneath, you will still have that one unified layer of visibility for the entire journey. So then now we get into the problem space of like why we built case lines, right? So if we zoom out and look at the whole customer life cycle here, from lead to opportunity to quote, like order, all the way through fulfillment, invoicing, you'll notice all of these objects have this common concept of line items. So you see the broader description, and then there's line items that actually hold the product information, like which products or services, what's the quantity, at what price, and with what entitlements, so on and so forth, which would change per line item. So all the way through selling and billing, we're kind of already thinking of all of these at a very granular line item level. But when something goes wrong, and let's say a customer raises a case, that richness could get lost if it's a simple case tracking. So with that, like the problem could just live at the case header level, even though the real issue is usually about one or two specific products or services. So for example, let's say Paul's our customer. Paul's ordered a home and a car bundle product. It's got router, subscription, additional car product services. So if he wants to change, let's say, the quantity of just one line item, let's say, for example, the router, and wants to return or cancel another service, it might entail multiple handoffs and not an optimal experience from Paul's side. And from the fulfiller side, let's call him John, it's again hard to find out which issue belongs to which item from the bundle, not to mention the separate workflows and all of the associated challenges. So that gap is exactly why we need the concept of case lines today. We bring that same line item structure into the case so we can track issues at the same level of detail as we sell and fulfill. So with case lines, the agent can create tasks for each line item in the product bundle and then can track and work towards resolution. All right, so I'm now going to hand it over to Madhuri, who will walk us through case lines in more detail. Madhuri's on mute. Yeah.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Madhuri. I lead the product management for case management. CSM, like Priya said, started long back prior to Istanbul, and we've made many enhancements since then, and case lines is one of the most recent enhancements we've done. And I'm going to cover how we've implemented, how we've built out case lines and quickly show a demo about an out-of-the-box case type that uses case lines. I'm going to take over screen share now. Okay. So you know, CRM case extends task as many of you who have implemented CSM are aware. And what we did as part of the case lines feature is we added a new object called case lines or case line items. The case line items or case lines also extends task. And the idea behind case lines is to capture many product instances on a case. So like Priya gave an example of, like, say, if you want to create invoice dispute and you want to dispute many line items on an invoice, then you need some sort of a place on case to capture that I have an issue with invoice line items 2, 3, and 4 for invoice number 1, 2, 3. And today on case, many of our customers either have extended case and configured it, or maybe have put that information in the case work notes or case description. But here the idea is to have a structured data model where you can store that information on the case and work through each of that line item separately as a task. You can then assign that line item to different personas within your business operations. So that's the primary use case behind why we introduced the concept of case lines. And once we introduced the concept of case lines or case line items, we also added the concept of case line characteristics. And if you've worked with our sales order management product, we have something called characteristics associated to products. And so we want to capture that. When you capture a product on a case, you want to also probably see what characteristics was that product for, right? So for example, if you're capturing an invoice dispute on a product, which is an iPhone, you probably want to see what type of iPhone that got invoiced for. Was it like a red iPhone, or was it like a 64 GB iPhone? So that case like characteristics essentially captures the product characteristic information for the specific line item that you're kind of disputing or you're capturing on the case. The case line items also have a concept of hierarchy, similar to what we have for order line items. So if you're actually logging a case for a bundled product or a configured product, you can capture the entire hierarchy on the case lines. So those are kind of like the high level capabilities that we have for case lines, and how we modeled case lines. In addition to all the characteristics that I just talked about, we also have a concept. We also added a concept of state model on case lines, similar to what we have on case. So most of the work, we believe, when you have all the products captured at the case line level, would be done at the case line level. So for example, like coming back to my example for invoice disputes, if you're disputing invoice line item 2, 3, 4, you probably need to capture the work that's been done at each case line level. So invoice line, case line 1 for invoice line item 2, and so on and so on. And when you create the case, the state moves from draft to new, and as you work the case line, you transition that to work in progress, and then you can resolve each particular case line independently, and you can have a different end state for each case line. So for example, you may approve, or you may approve the case line for the invoice dispute for one of the invoice items, but you may not agree for the dispute that was raised for invoice line item 2. And we also propagate, when you start adding case lines to a case, you can manage the state model of your case lines and kind of sync that with the state model on the case itself. So if you start the case if the case is in a new state, and then you start adding more line items to that case, you can we have the capability to propagate that state for every single new case line that gets added, or you can say any new case line always starts with a new case. It always starts in a new state. Also, you can add the capabilities to sync back. Once every single case line item is resolved, you can then sync back the status of the case line to your case itself. You can add this functionality, or you can even manually control the states. But the idea is to make sure that the work is being done at the case line item level, and then it kind of has this unified status on the case itself. Okay, so let me give you some examples of what we did as out-of-the-box case types. For some of you who may have listened to our case types webinar, we talked about the concept of a case type. Case type is essentially an extension of case where it is tailored. It's not just the data model extension, but it's an extension of our base case management application tailored for specific case management use cases, such as complaints handling, or like account onboarding, or you can you may have other use cases, but these are the two out of the box case applications that we released. So a case type application includes the data model, the roles and access control. We have experiences and processes and state models and state flows all encompassed, that you can actually get it out of the box as a plugin, install it, and start working your complaints if you have a complaint management requirement. Similarly, we have this onboarding case application as well. To that, what we did is we introduced new case type applications. Since then, we introduced a dedicated case management application for in-flight order exceptions and in-flight order operations handling. We've also introduced a dedicated case management application for invoice-related issues, invoice disputes, or kind of related, all things invoice-related. And then we also introduced a new application called Returns Management Application. This is case management using our CSM case management with a dedicated case type to handle your returns and return authorization. And along the same lines, we also introduced claims. This is where mainly used in the manufacturing space, where maybe you want to claim back money for a repair that you may have done, and that particular repair would have been under warranty, and you're going back to the manufacturer to claim the amount for which you've the work you've done. So like I explained, so we have these 4 new applications so far. These are all at the CSM level. Our industry teams have created more, and those would be in follow-up webinars where they could more deep dive into industry-specific case types that they may have introduced using case lines. But this should give you a good idea of what are the out-of-the-box CSM case types that we introduced, and these are the ones that specifically use the concept of case line items. So on the order operations case management, we track. So we use case line items to track the order lines for which you may want to make a change in quantity, or the order line item for which you may want to request a change in the delivery date, or you may want to dispute saying that a particular quantity, the order was for 100, but we only received a certain amount. So essentially, the order case is to kind of log cases for any order-related issues. And similarly, like the invoice, like I talked about, it was to raise cases against invoice line items. Both these case types, you can actually create cases for either a single order or a single invoice with many order line items or many invoice line items. But you could also create these cases for maybe for many orders. So something you might want to change at the order header, or something you may want to dispute for many invoices, and say maybe all these invoices got billed to a wrong billing account. You can then create a single casing invoices A through C, or have been invoiced to a wrong bill to, and then that one case you can resolve these many invoices that were disputed. And then we have the return authorization, and I'll go a little bit into the demo, and you'll see how we've built out the case type and how we've built out the experiences for this as well. The order operations case application, essentially, we have 2 new objects at the data model level where we've extended case to create an order case, and we have order case lines that extend our case lines data model that we've introduced as part of the case line items feature. We also use a concept of entity mappings, which is to a low-code way of actually moving data from the source object to case. So in case you're creating order-related cases, you may have the need to actually copy the information from the order to case, so that you don't have to repeat entering the information. So we have this concept called entity mapping, some primitives where you can predefine what attributes you want to copy as part of case creation for a given order, and it automatically, or an order line item, and it automatically copies those specific data elements when you create cases for orders and add those specific order line items. And the same thing we also have for invoice case and invoice case line items. So I'm going to quickly move into the demo here. The demo scenario here is we have Big Box International, who is a large retail chain that places orders with Electri. Electri is a manufacturer of home automation systems, and here our Big Box International regularly has this sales agreements that they keep sending a particular amount of quantity of home automation bundles every month. But the But this December, they had a surge in demand for this specific type of home automation bundle. And then Sally wants to change the recurring orders that happen every month. And let's see how easily Sally can then go to our portal, request this, request the change for a specific product on these recurring orders, and how John can, who's a order operations agent at Electric, can actually resolve that particular case. So I'm going to switch over to the demo here, and I'm going to now impersonate as Sally Thomas. Sally Thomas is, like I said, is our procurement admin at Big Box International. She goes to the business portal. For those of you who haven't heard about business portal, who only know about CSM and CSP portals, business portals is a new portal that we introduced recently, which is replacement of, it's the next generation of our CSM portal, which uses our horizontal portal widgets, which are easily configurable, low code, no code way. So she goes to the business portal and goes to the request and then say submit an order case. And you see that this is also leveraging our new playbooks on portals functionality, where you see that Sally is now getting a very guided experience on how to create an order case. Here she can quickly select the order number for which she wants to request a change. And she specifies, I want to require a change, increase the order quantity of my home automation bundle for December delivery. And then you notice that she is now presented with the line items, specific line items on that order that she can request a change. So this particular order has some modems as well, but she doesn't want to change any of the quantity on that. She just wants to request a change in quantity for the home automation bundle. And then she picks that, selects that line item. Notice that this is a bundle with many line products within it. So she just needs to select the parent and then add that to the case. Note that this is actually in the back end, creating an order case for you and adding those order line items automatically to the order case as case line items. And then here she can then go here and specify what is the by how much she wants to increase this quantity. And then she says, okay, we have a surge in demand, so I really need you to ship me additional quantity here. And she says that the new requested quantity is 300, and then move on to the next step. And here she just reviews the changes, and then she can then submit the case. And once the case gets submitted, and this is our standard ticket page experience where she can go and review what the case and the information that she just added to her case. And now I'm going to switch hats here, and I'm going to switch as John Jason, who is actually fulfiller at Electric, who's the manufacturer who's actually shipping these home automation goods to Big Box International. So John's fulfiller, he'll accept this particular case, and you notice that we have a different experience here than what you've used to seeing on our regular case, standard case page. So we've introduced a new page experience here, since we have this concept of case lines, which captures these order lines for which they need to kind of figure out, okay, can I accommodate this particular increase in quantity? This is the request that came in. This was the original order, and this is the new requested quantity, right? So the first thing that John Jason does is make sure that all the information is accurate here. He sees the order number. He sees the line items here, the new change, the requested quantity. And then there's a couple of things that John Jason can do here. He can then either create a task, or in this case, I don't have the integration with SAP set up. But typically, they would actually go to their ordering system. ServiceNow is typically the system of action. If they've used our SOM for ordering, great. They can just go look at the availability in SOM. But if they're using another ERP system to track their orders, here John Jason would log on to either whatever ERP system they have and check, okay, do we have this additional quantity? Is there quantity available to ship? And then once he has that information, he can go to that particular line item and then just essentially make notes saying that I've checked availability and the quantity is available, right? And then he also wants to check if there's shipping logistics that needs to happen. Do we have additional capacity on the truck? So for that, he can then create a case task. This is specifically for that particular line item. And then he can then create this particular case task and assign it to the logistics group and then say, can you please verify if the additional quantity of 200 can be accommodated on the November 21st shipment? And then he can create the case task for each specific line item. And then this particular case task gets assigned to the appropriate person in the logistics group. And then this able tutor works this particular case and he verifies and then says, yes, we can accommodate the change. And then save this, and then he can then close this particular task, and then our agent, John Jason, gets notified that this particular task is actually completed, and then he can go about then resolving this particular case. Essentially, the way you can resolve is you can go here and then just change the state to resolved accepted, and then it would automatically then change the state of the case once every single line is changed to resolved accepted. So that's essentially how you would then track the work that's needed to be done at each line item, and also then complete and close, resolve that particular case. So now I've actually have a template here, which you can actually also add the appropriate resolution notes for that particular case and then resolve the case. And this would be pretty much how you would resolve a regular case. That's kind of like a brief overview of how you can create order cases, and the fulfiller can then work on resolving the case and along with the case lines. I want to quickly actually show you a brief overview of what an RMA case looks like and how we've actually implemented a playbook version on how the fulfiller can actually work an RMA case. So like I've shown you, here the RMA request would be done from the portal, and then once it gets routed to the agent can then review. Maybe let me just go ahead and create an RMA case here. Assume that the agent is creating here on behalf of the customer. Like in this case, let's pick Boxio, and say the customer is on the phone saying that he's having issues with the recent order that I received for the chairs are defective, have several defective chairs, and so he wants to get a return material authorization for the chairs that on the recent order that he's received. And then you can you can just work this playbook. So this is another set of example experience that we've actually shipped out of the box where the fulfiller can have this. So if you, a guided experience to work through both the creation of the case as well as fulfilling of that case. So here I'm going to add that he has a problem for this order with these particular chairs, and then you can specify what the defective quantity is, and you can say the 10 were defective out of the original quantity, and kind of work this particular case. And this would be how the playbook would look like end to end. So you have the step where we can also review the entitlements during the case fulfillment lifecycle. If you've set up entitlements for a product, since the case line item has the product information, the agent can check entitlements, add the entitlement, say, oh yeah, this particular chair only has a 2-year warranty, so you really can't return. We can't generate an RMA beyond the 2 years, so we have added capabilities to check entitlements to help the agent make the right decision based on the request that he's getting. So that's a super quick tour of like the out of the box case types that we've released and the experiences that we have out of the box for our order case and our RMA case. And I'm going to now hand it over to Priya, who's going to talk about how you can build your own case types with case lines.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Madhuri. That was an amazing demo. So I'm just going to take you guys quickly through how case lines work with custom case types. So if you might remember, as Madhuri said, case types are case data model predefined for specific case types. And I would love to reiterate that we have a prior live on ServiceNow, which I highly recommend. It's super useful. It's a session available on demand on our CSM YouTube playlist. So coming back to our example, let's say there's a customer, Paul, who needs a fishing license, right? But that also involves so many prerequisites for him before he can get it. Like, for example, he needs a boating license, a parking permit, maybe like a safety training course that he needs to complete and get the certification of. So licensing in this case might look like a single request, but it's actually a bundle of items with different attributes, owners, timelines, approvals, SLAs, what have you. So a parent license request case in this example gives us Paul's context and payment or whatever other details. But each license request line, like for example, a boating license, each license request line will carry its own fields, its own routing, and its own dependencies. So extending case types to have case lines could truly prove super useful in such scenarios. Now, what do we mean by extending a case type for case lines? So I would love to take you through this approximately like three-pronged approach. So in our example, the case type table, such as the license request, can be extended to include the case line table, which I'll shortly show you. And then we could add line level attributes to this to then use case lines for our custom license case type. And once the related lists are configured on the workspace, it would also show up for the agent to use. So this is like broadly a few steps on how to do that. And with that, I am going to switch over to the demo. I hope you can see this. Just a second.
Yes, we can see.
All right. You can see the instance, right?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So here is the admin view of the instance where we have pre-created a demo license request case type for you. So if you have not created your case type, essentially you would navigate to create case type, and then you'd be able to create a new one or access whatever you've already created. So I'm just going to go ahead and access what I've already created. So this is our example, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on Edit in ServiceNow Studio, which would then open up in a new tab. Let's wait for that to load. Right. So essentially, I am able to see all of the data, all of the user interface, all of the modules, all of the related items on the left-hand side pane over here. So now we would like to extend the case lines table for this case type. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on table. So we get a view of what tables are there. Ideally, we would want the license line request lines over here to appear over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I would like to create this particular case line in our scope application. And this again is part of the custom case type table. And I'm going to select create a new table. And I'm going to give it a name. License line, let's say. And here I'm going to choose the case line table. So Once that's done, you can check the other stuff, and then I'm going to go ahead and save it. All right, looks like our table has been created. Now I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And now we can see how this license line has been created over here. And we can also see how it's created license line in the application menu and the modules and all of that. Awesome. So next, I am going to go ahead and see how I can create license request. This is our case type table. Okay. Great. So essentially, this is the table builder view. So here we can add a new field if we want. So, for the example purposes, I'm just going to create a new field called license type. And I'm going to maybe select type choice. And I'm going to give a few values for it. Bulk license, add. And of course, we could always add many of these other dictionary entries, columns, like, for example, quantity or anything else that's related. I'm just giving a few examples here. Safety, and maybe like parking permit. Cool. Now that that's done, we could just go ahead and save this. So essentially, broadly, this is like the first step of our approach, right? So now we've extended the case type table to include the case lines. Next, we would love to see how we could include this in the related lists. So let me go ahead and show you that. We have also, for demo purposes, we have pre-created a case record for this particular case type, and I would love to show you how to include the related lists for this particular case record. So this is the default platform view. So if I want to configure related lists and want case lines or case line tasks to appear over here, all I would have to do is go to related lists and then case lines. Let's say I want the case line task, case lines, then I would just maybe rearrange it if I want to, and then hit save. You can see how the view name is the default view here, and then now you can see how this appears over here, case lines and case line tasks. So if I would want that to appear for my workspace view, all I would have to do is go edit the workspace view. Okay. So see that? Okay. All right. So once that's done, it should be available on the workspace. So now I'm also going to quickly switch over to show, let me see if I can bring the workspace, which I have open. Okay. So this is the workspace view where we've tried to create a list view on the workspace. So to create this list, you would essentially go to the UX list categories and add or edit new categories. So we've pre-created that for the purposes of this demo. And now when we access, this is the same case record that we saw before. And when we access this, we should be able to see that appear over here on the tab here, license lines, as you can see this. So if you rearrange this, this would be available, on the More tab, and essentially you're able to see that here. And then the new license line can be added and managed from here. So one other thing that I would also love to touch upon is how, we saw the order case line example, the RMA case example that Madhuri showed us. So that was as she mentioned, that was a specialized experience that we had created for this. But if we want something like that for a custom case type, all we would have to do is go to UI Builder and essentially create a new page variant. It's loading. Okay. So this is the CSM FSM configure workspace experience. And here we would see all of the pages and page variants. So I'm just going to look for order case. So we have this order case record page. So essentially all we would have to do is open this, maybe create a new variant. You could duplicate this, edit that, and then link that to your custom case type. And similarly, the way she showed the playbook view, right? So if we want that, so we could look for an existing case playbook variant, and then we could duplicate that and then link that to our custom case type, so that it's available for our custom case type. So with that, I would like to switch back to our presentation. All right, we can see this. Okay. All right. So I would like to go over a few, commonly occurring examples on when to use case lines, right? So for example, if there's a multi-item, multi-service request, for example, if there's a customer who's returning 3 different products under one return, case, then that could be an example of when we would use case lines. Case lines are also super helpful when there's distinct ownership per line or distinct workflows per line or line item. So for example, there's one case line item that gets routed to logistics, and for example, another gets routed to repairs. That could be a scenario where case lines could prove super helpful. As we saw before, case lines also bring more granular visibility into line level metrics and reporting. So let's say if we want to identify the most returned SKUs or the slowest service type within a broader case, that could be also an example of when case lines might prove super useful. We would also love to use case lines when you would, like to avoid case duplication, where one case for an order with multiple defective items could prove super helpful instead of creating 3 separate cases for that particular example. So with that, we have come to an end of the webinar. So I'm just gonna quickly take a brief moment to call out our AI experience here. ServiceNow is super committed to your success, and I want to highlight a couple of offerings that we have. One is ServiceNow Impact. It's a customer success product which helps you maximize value with long-term adoption guidance and support. Our training and certification resources available through ServiceNow University help you build all the talent that you need for success. And Expert Services is our ServiceNow professional services team that helps you implement and optimize your investments.
We thank you for attending the webinar, and hopefully you found this useful.